Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to HipHughes History, to my classroom of learning on the YouTubes. We're hitting you up with some Gibbons versus Ogden today, 1824. It's gonna be on the test. You need to know it. So perk up your ears, stick up your antennas, open up your hearts to the land of learning. Here we go. All right, so here we go, guys. 1824. This is a John Marshall court case. Call him John Schwarzenegger Marshall, because the concept is that we're changing the nature of federalism. Remember, federalism is the division of power between the federal and state governments. Well, the federal government is getting a little beefier early on in the Republic, and specifically, we're going to beef them up with the Interstate Commerce Clause. So let's go through the facts of the case. Robert Fulton, the guy who invented the steamboat, you've learned that in 8th grade, and Robert Livingston, one of the founding fathers, they team up, Wonder Twins activate, and they create a steamboat company in the early 19th century. And they start securing licenses, to navigate rivers. And they will go to the state where the river is, like New York, and they'll get a license to operate their steamboat on that river in New York. And they're making mad money because, in a sense, the state's giving them a license. They're kind of getting a monopoly on that, that river waterway. So, yada, yada, yada. As time goes on, we have a guy by the name of Aaron Ogden. And Aaron Ogden, the former governor of New Jersey, who was actually one of the guys who was fighting this monopoly, ends up folding in, and he buys, kind of a franchise from Fulton. And he starts operating his company. He brings on a partner. His partner is Gibbons. Gibbons versus Ogden makes sense, right? And eventually, this guy from Gibbons, Georgia, starts to piss off Ogden, to be honest with you, a little bit, and they kind of have a breakup. And at the end of the day, what Gibbons had done is he had gone to Congress and he secured a license based on a law that was passed in the early 19th century that regulated coastal waters. And he's using that federal license to navigate rivers that Gibbons is already navigating. He's breaking the monopoly. So in a sense, we have a state versus Fed issue. So what's groovy? What's kosher? Is it the state licenses? Because look, the state, they operate that riverway. It's the water in the state of New York. Or is it Gibbons, who is now have this kind of superseded federal authority using the Interstate Commerce Clause? So let's explain the Interstate Commerce Clause, then we'll explain the decisions, and then you can go have some din-din. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3. Section 8 of Article 1 in the Constitution is something that you really should take a look at. It is the laundry list of delegated powers. And the third item in there is that Congress has the ability to regulate trade amongst foreign nations, the several states, that's the part we're going to deal with, and amongst the Indian tribes. But when we say you can regulate commerce amongst the several states, that's the heart of the matter. What does that mean? And what Daniel Webster, there's a wig for you, who is arguing for the federal government side, which is Gibbons with that federal license, he's arguing that the river goes between states and that the federal government needs the ability to be able to regulate rivers. And this is really important because at the same time, Congress is debating a bill about new roads and surveying. So especially to the South, this is really important because they see the federal government expanding its power. They believe that the state should still be able to regulate the rivers that flow inside those state borders, like concurrent powers. The feds can give licenses, but the state should be able to regulate it as well. So at the heart of the matter, we're taking those words from the Interstate Commerce Clause and deciding what they mean. And what the Marshall Court is going to say is that it is necessary, it's a necessary endeavor to the Republic that the federal government is able to regulate these waterways over the state's authority, that the federal license is supreme in this situation. So Gibbons wins, ding, 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 Gibbons versus Ogden. That state license, that monopoly that Ogden had with that state's license isn't going to live to see the light of day anymore because Gibbons got a papa license. So always go to federalism with this case. Federalism is division of power between the federal and state governments. And we now can say that the federal government, using the Interstate Commerce Clause, has broadened its power. And we're going to get back into the Interstate Commerce Clause when we start regulating businesses using the Interstate Commerce Clause in the late 1800s. And then even today, when people are talking about issues like drugs, narcotics, Obamacare, we're dealing with the Interstate Commerce Clause. There you go. All right, guys, there you go. That's some HipHughes history for you. We have over 300 videos. You'd be auto-clicking the face if you want to be scramming through the internet to my YouTube pages. It would be great if you subscribed. Where attention goes, energy flows, guys. Keep growing your brain because it can grow forever.